Funding for College Bound, a look into Connecticut state colleges and universities, is made possible by Connecticut state colleges and universities.
The college search process. Before the first form is ever filled out, the anxiety begins.
The college search was very stressful.
I was very sensitive to the cost.
Affordability, in my opinion, is the largest barrier.
It became feasible for me to graduate with a bachelor's without any student debt whatsoever.
When it came to college, I wanted to get out of Connecticut.
I know I wanted to stay in Connecticut.
There are times when you want mom's chicken noodle soup.
The rankings in U.S. News and World Report are not indicative at all of the quality of education that one can receive.
We ask a lot of students, of 17-year-olds at this stage.
But does it have to be so out of control? How can you make finding the right college less overwhelming?
It is incredibly individualized for every student.
To find out, we sat down with some school counselors to get their advice.
You asked the question, what's typical? And there's really nothing typical.
Why do you want to go to college?
It's a big investment no matter what you do, so you have to invest some time in making sure that you've done all you can do to make it work.
Then we talked to some college students here in Connecticut.
I grew up in Stratford, Connecticut.
I was born and raised here in Hartford.
I grew up in New Jersey.
I'm from Morgantown, West Virginia.
I was born in Cali, Colombia.
My ultimate goal is to go to NFL.
I'm majoring in marketing.
I was in the military for many years.
I was 24 when I started going back to school. It took me 10 years to finally go back to school.
We discovered that there is no one right way. There are quality options right in your own backyard, and more money does not mean a better education. The Connecticut State College and University System is the largest public higher education system in Connecticut and the second largest in New England. It has 4 universities, 1 online institution, 12 community college campuses, and educates about 85,000 students a year. They come from different states and countries, from public and private schools, from all kinds of backgrounds and families. But despite their differences, many of them face the same challenges.
A lot of families, I think, fall into the trap of maybe starting too early or starting to put too much pressure too early on students with it. We actually make it a point not to even say the word college in freshman year because we don't want to add to that stress. Let them enjoy high school, let them discover who they are, and the college piece will come later.
By doing some self-searching, everything from what kind of a student are you, what classes have you enjoyed in high school, what activities have you been involved in, how have you evolved over the 4 years.
It's like a process of self-discovery. Where are the places that will give me a chance to take a stab at those things when I leave here?
We're honest about it. How many of us knew what we were going to do when we were 17? I certainly didn't. We ask a question that seems really simple, but I think stuns our students. Why do you want to go to college? Is it something that is driven by your own goals? Is it parental pressure? Is it just because you think it's the next step? And I think that tells us loads about where they're at.
When I do public speaking to families around the college admission process, I'll even joke with them, you can go ahead and count how many times tonight I'm going to answer questions starting with, it depends.
A common mistake that I think students especially get into is they get really emotionally attached to one school. We really have them look at all the different aspects and find a good list of schools that fit them or what they're looking for, so that when decision time comes down, you have some other options that are available in case that one specific school does not work out.
When I think of that phrase, own the process, I'm looking at the students owning the process.
Don't let the process happen to you. Be engaged and don't let mom and dad do it for you. Don't just follow what you think your friends want you to do, but just own it and learn from it.
I had a conversation with a student and a parent. The student was like, this is my first choice. I love this place. I'm absolutely going. I'm like, have you been there yet? No. So they went for a college visit and the student did not get out of the car. That was not the right school for them.
I think the campus visit is huge. We can tell the minute they walk in our office and they say, hey, I just did my college tour and I hit 6 schools. Boy, did I like X school. And that's really when it comes together for them. Do they want a city? Do they want a more rural atmosphere? What size? I mean, students can't answer those questions until they've actually been on campus.
Look at what's in your backyard first. Don't start automatically looking something that's an air flight away.
See if you can go to an open house. In May, Norwalk Community Colleges has this thing called NCC Live. We bus them there, we have them sit in on actual classes that they would be taking with the actual professors.
Go visit some of the local schools and see what style you like. At least get a sense of that first, and that might help you narrow down your search. Because they're in state, there's this perception that it's not as good.
They want it out of Connecticut. We hear that a lot.
For a lot of our students, they're perfectly happy looking at a comparable public institution in another state, but they won't look at a school here.
Their biggest fear is that mom and dad's going to show up every Friday and want to hang out with them, and really, that's never going to happen.
Honestly, when I was applying to colleges, the last thing I wanted to do was to go to school in Connecticut. But when I set foot on campus and I was at WestCon, I really felt like this was somewhere I'd want to be. One of the main things I looked for when I was applying to colleges is if I could play basketball at the university. The culture of athletics has always been a very important part of my life. I really love playing the game.
I think we need to make that adjustment.
What I love most is being part of a team and having that second family, especially making the huge move of living at a different location other than my home. The awesome part about being a D3 athlete is that I'm able to continue to pursue the athletic part that I love, but then I'm also able to continue to pursue the academic part. All right, so this is my thesis I wrote last year. I wrote it on the relationship between parental alcoholism and college-age students' academic performance. I'm a double major in social work and political science, which is really cool because I'm able to see a lot of policy work and different stuff that really impacts social work through the government standpoint and the political science standpoint of things. I am on my 3rd internship. I was able to intern at United Way, and then I was able to intern at Shelter Rock. I'm currently a senior social work intern at Wilton Youth Services. I recently sent in my Peace Corps application. Madagascar is my #1 country that I applied for. I really enjoy working with children and youth and adolescents, so that's what I want to go into. I eventually do want to get my master's in social work, and I'm hoping that my experience with the Peace Corps will give me a better understanding of what I want to focus on. WestCon was so appealing because it offered me so much academically and athletically and financially. I don't have to worry about jumping right into the workforce to pay off my debt, so I'm able to really be flexible and go into things and look into things like the Peace Corps.
Where we work and where we live, it's a very successful community. So there's a lot of families that have the means to pay for college. However, even the ones that are as successful as can be, they're still shocked by the sticker price of schools. A great resource is that net price calculator that every school has on their website now. That's not an exact sticker price, but it gives them a better sense of what they're really looking at when they're applying to a certain school. I don't think that a bigger price tag is necessarily better education. Again, to me, what does that really mean, better education? Is it that the professor has been published more than some others? Is it that they bring in more money, privately?
Families and students, probably more than their parents, have become a little bit more aware of the fact that many of their friends and peers who went off to college, have a lot of loans, are living with mom and dad. This is a reality, I think, of this generation.
One of the formulas that we'll use is approximately for every $10,000 you borrow, you'll pay about $100 a month back in the end. That is a formula that we'll use because you do need to be an informed consumer.
This is what it really looks like to take $100,000 worth of loans after 4 years and what that's going to look like down the road for the next 20 years of your life.
There's huge misperception out there around merit-based aid. When you do get merit-based aid, it often goes directly against what financial assistance you were going to get anyway from a need-based standpoint. It's one of the challenges we have is to really help parents recognize that a scholarship isn't always quite as wonderful as one might think it is. It's like a trophy in some ways, a cheap trophy.
Families have become more savvy about the financial return on investment and is it really worth it? Parents have said to me or asked me, is this private school really $20,000 better? And the answer is obviously, well, not really. I've seen more and more families look at a broader range of schools and try to give themselves the option of what is the school that can allow me to reach my goals, but do it in a way where I won't be saddled with so much money.
I'm the president of the Association of American Colleges and Universities. Before that, I was the president of Mount Holyoke College. I was a professor and vice provost for research at the University of Hartford, and then vice provost for academic affairs and dean of the graduate school at the University of Rhode Island. I started at Quinebaug Valley Community College when I was 17 years old. The professors' offices were in trailers, and our classes were in the church basements. It was at a time when community colleges were considered radical, subversive places. I had a full scholarship to go to university, but I was an only child of a single parent who was chronically ill, and so I needed to be home and serve as caregiver for my mother. Now community colleges are seen as an opportunity for exploration at a time when education seems to be too difficult to access, it's too expensive for many, and so it's a remarkable pathway for so many students. I attended Quinebaug for 2 years and transferred to Mount Holyoke College, graduated in 2 years, and then went off to get my PhD at Brown. Quinebaug enabled me to become an innovator in my own life, to see possibilities for myself. It was through the mentoring, the strong curriculum, the commitment to community that I was enabled to become a leader in higher education. One of the things that troubles me the most is if I'm at a local grocery store, I will ask the person at the checkout, "Are you going to college?" And I will often have the person say, "No, I'm just going to community college." And I say, "But that is college. I started in community college." Whenever I'm introduced, I make sure that people state that I'm a graduate of Quinebaug. I think my path would have been completely different if I hadn't attended Quinebaug. I received all of the critical thinking skills, a sense of global competence, that sense of value and authenticity that propelled me, was served as a catalyst for my thriving in the future. Quinebaug offered to me the opportunity to live my best and most authentic self. That's all that we can hope for our children, for students today. It's to provide them with those foundations that will help them in their lives.
It's all about what is the best outcome for the student.
We're looking for that fit of school based on finances, based on what academics they're looking at.
It should be fit, affordability, and outcomes. If I go to your school, what are the outcomes that I should, would, could expect, and rightfully so for the money that people are paying to get in there.
It's an individual process. Don't get caught up in the hype. Don't try to do what your friends are doing and follow along with the rest of the crowd. If you have a little bit of a different path, that's totally fine. And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you eventually get to where it is that you want to be. That's the important piece.
Exposing them to all their different options as much as you can is really important because they don't necessarily know everything that's out there, and making sure that they know if they change their mind, it's okay.
Straight out of high school, I went to the military. From there, I worked as a counselor. I worked at a call center as a customer service representative. I've worked at gas stations. I've worked in retail. I've worked at fast food. I have done a lot of things. I thought I was going to be out for maybe 1 year. I never expected it to be a decade before I decided to go back. If this is going to be underground, how is that exactly going to look? Currently, my major is architectural engineering technology, and I go to Capital Community College here in Hartford. My ultimate goal is to be a licensed architect. where I can either have my own company where I'm designing and selling my own properties, or whether it's helping someone in need. I'm interning here at Taisu Kim Partners. It's TSKP Studio. It's in Hartford. They also have one in Boston. I was expecting that being an intern, you're going to be shadowing people, you're going to watch what they do on a daily basis. Never would I have imagined that I would actually be hands-on and actually working on a model for a project. It's really cool, it's exciting. It's a different mindset completely. Going to college at 28 rather than 18, it's a whole different experience because your mindset is so much different. I'm so focused on what I'm doing. We're here for a purpose, we're here for this degree, and we're here to better ourselves, but we're also here to pursue bigger things. It's absolutely breathtaking. Being a part of something bigger than just myself, seeing how hard they work, it makes me want to do that and then some.
This is part of the Nursing and Allied Health Department Simulation Center where nurses and other students practice their clinical skills. And there are hospital beds here with mannequins in them. And they're high fidelity mannequins.
Good afternoon, Mr. Patrick Smart.
Hi, how are
Hi,
you?
how are you?
His last set of vital signs were 120/78. We can simulate any sort of patient in any scenario.
Okay, and your date of birth?
Students can take blood pressures, listen to heart and lung sounds, listen to belly sounds. We can do procedures on them. The mannequins do have names. They are Rita, George, and this is Victoria. She is our birthing mannequin, and she just gave birth to her baby. Today, the nursing students will do a simulation on a patient with pneumonia.
Okay, you're gonna lose some of this a little bit, okay?
Yeah. Okay. I'll be running in the control room. And they will interact with the mannequin.
Oh, it's a really strong cough right there, huh?
This is a safe environment to practice nursing skills. Students hone all their skills. They get comfortable communicating with a patient.
Drinking more will also help you with your cough.
The outcomes show that real learning happens here. The most important part of simulation is the debriefing. Listening to the lung sounds, what would you anticipate hearing?
Oh, crackles.
A lot of the learning happens during the debrief.
I wish I could do that over and over again. The more I do, I think the better I get.
There's a growing demand for nurses everywhere. The best thing about being a nurse is really reaching people and helping them in their times of need. Being a nurse educator, it's passing on that knowledge that I have to my students.
There is a perception of community college as a fallback.
Sometimes kids think, oh, it's community college, but then they get there and they say, this feels like college, you know?
And that's the important piece about going to visit the schools. That is the biggest piece about what makes students realize, oh my goodness, this is actually a viable option for me because this is an actual college and, you know, it has all of the things that I actually want out of a school.
When I tell them about the guaranteed admissions program that the community colleges in Connecticut have with all the state universities, when they realize they can go to a school like UConn, Central, Southern, Eastern, after getting a 3.0 after 2 years, like their faces light up, it gives them hope.
Party boys, don't get up, don't feel anything. When will they learn to not push it down, push it down?
I didn't feel like going to college initially.
For a good time, call phones.
My friends and I, we all played music, so we formed an indie folk band. And it was a lot of fun, but after a while, you realize you're not going to be a professional musician, and it's okay. I had a mindset about what a community college was. I was going to come to Naugatuck Valley and get some classes out of the way and then transfer to a four-year institution. And the more classes I took, the more I realized the expectations I had for this place were wrong. And there was far more to be gained from going here than I had ever thought. So on the interval of -8, could it be the negative of that answer? -5 √8 to the 3? I initially wanted to do physics, and then I found that I enjoyed the math side of those classes more. And the more I spoke with my professors, the more I realized that I would be better suited to doing an applied math degree. Typically, finding perpendicular lines involves a slope. I started tutoring at Naugatuck Valley in the Academic Center for Excellence, and I found I love to share my passion for math with students.
-3.
So we have a -3. I got involved with the NASA Connecticut Space Grant Consortium, which provides project and grant funding and scholarships to students and faculty throughout the state. I earned a scholarship from them, and because of that, I learned about a program called the NASA Aerospace Scholars Program.
Rover Challenge is more than just a race.
They invite the students to a week-long event at one of the NASA centers, and you have to build and design a rover that performs these tasks on a simulated Martian surface. So it was a lot of fun. I would like to work at NASA, and I'm very interested in modeling orbital systems. I graduated in spring 2017, and I transferred to Southern, where I got a scholarship. So it became feasible for me to graduate with a bachelor's without any student debt whatsoever. That opens up a whole world of possibilities of where I could go get my master's or just going directly into industry. It means that I am not hindered by having to pay student loans. It means that all the money I make after I graduate college is mine to build my life. That's a little better, right? I just recently got back into performing. I love to play music, and I think it's a really fun thing to do on weekends. That's sort of the dream, and that's much easier to do when you're not paying off student debt.
I think sometimes there's this just preconceived, I have to go to four-year college because that's what everybody's doing.
One of the main parts of my job is to make sure that we protect the students from kind of that societal stress and just the general stress around this process for them. It's just to make sure that they're making the right decision for themselves. The reality is that a four-year college may not be the right thing for everybody.
It's not important that you have this sticker on your car as opposed to going to this very wonderful 2-year school and take advantage of that for 2 years and then transfer to a 4-year school.
During one of our seminars with seniors, we're talking about the list of CEOs and where they started in schools and the percentage of them that started at community colleges or went to their own state college. And I think I remember looking at the kids' faces, and these were big top names. They're like, really? Really? I'm like, yeah, really.
For a lot of our kids, when they realize that they can go to the community college and most of those credits transfer as long as it's not as part of their major or something like that, they realize that, okay, I do have this option where I start off locally commuting and then eventually go to that traditional 4-year campus.
I don't have a lot of free time because I'm an engineering student, but when I have free time, I like hula hooping. When I started, I was like scientifically thinking how to do it, and it's like the point of contact. You have to give impulse, you know, it has to be touching a part of your body. I was good at math and science, and my mom was like, you should be an engineer. I'm originally from El Salvador. I moved here 4 years ago, and then I moved with my sisters. This is Milo, and he speaks Spanglish.
Hello, how are you? Una galletita?
Hola. 6 months after I came here, I started Manchester Community College, and I chose to study an associate in engineering science. When I first came here, I knew a little bit of English. When I started classes at MCC, I could read the book and I will understand what it says, but I couldn't pick up very well when the professor was talking. Studying something in another language, I think it's hard, but at the same time, engineering needs a lot about numbers. Maybe it made it easier for me. I reopened the engineering club. I was the president for the math club. I tutor math. I realized that I could use engineering as a tool for helping the environment. I started this project called Eco Princess Faye, and it's to create awareness about world pollution. I just graduated from MCC, and now I have a good job as a project engineer. I'm going to UConn, and I'm studying chemical engineering. Like right now, it's in the stage of like researching in the lab. After I graduate, I wanna apply to a master's and PhD program combined at MIT, and hopefully I can work researching different energy resources different to the ones that we have right now.
The public schools in Connecticut are so well respected that no matter where they go, it's a way to help them reach their educational goals. It's a plus of living here, and it's certainly a benefit to our students.
They do have choices, and it's not where they start off at the very beginning, but it's really where they finish.
No one at the party ever says, where did you start college?
Right.
They say, where did you graduate from?
I was 24 when I started going back to school, and because it was August of 2008, and a lot of financial crisis was going on around that time, so I was trying to figure out why my 401k dropped so much. And every time something in the news seemed to be something that I didn't know about, I tend to research that. That's when I decided that finance and accounting would be something interesting. Tunxis was nearby, and I had read that they do a really good job of just getting you ready for a university. I knew I ultimately wanted to get my bachelor's degree. I went back full-time, and I was working full-time. I was able to get a flexible schedule at work that allowed me to have 2 fixed days off, and I took all my classes at Tunxis during that time. Some of my friends thought that community college was not something to be taken seriously. For a lot of them, it was a joke that I was going to Tunxis. When I started seeing the quality of teachers that I had there, that's really what made me stay. It took me a year and a half to graduate from Tunxis. When I was getting out of Tunxis, I was looking at NYU, Cornell. They were all really good schools, and I had the capability of going to all of them. Ultimately, I settled on Cornell University. When I graduated from Cornell, I started a job with a Big Four accounting firm in New York City. From that firm, I went to another Big Four accounting firm located in Hartford. I just recently joined United Technologies in their internal audit department, and I've been here a few weeks and I absolutely love it. I want to be a CFO or a controller somewhere. I've worked with senior leaders at big public companies, and when you see these people, you say like, wow, I can be that person. I just got to put in the hard work and the effort, educate myself a little bit more, and I'll get to that point.
Another factor that is a common mistake, I guess, is getting caught up in the best of the best, part of somebody's top 50 list.
I think parents like them because it's something tangible. This process seems so out of control for them. Parents that are well-informed and well-read, they like to get that research and that documentation. But for us, it's not what drives our process at all.
Our families use them a lot, and it's important to know what's behind those rankings, and that's what we try to encourage parents when they bring that up. What are they using to rank those schools? What's really the factors?
The rankings in U.S. News and World Report are not measuring the quality of an education that a student receives. If you look at how the rankings are compiled, it has to do with salaries that they pay, the endowments that they have, how many students apply, and how many students get admitted. They reward institutions for increased selectivity, for excluding people. So the more people you deny admission, the more prestigious you are.
A lot of times when people delve into it a little bit and see how these schools are being ranked, it surprises them, and they maybe change their view a little bit about how important the rankings really are. Do they have no value? I wouldn't go that far and say that, but I think as a consumer, it's important to know where are they coming up with that ranking, and then for that consumer to decide how important is that for them. And I think a lot of us in the department share the same view. The rankings have a factor, but I don't put it at the top when I'm looking at the decision about it.
It's often because of what's referred to as the Chivas Regal effect, the fact that we want to make sure that consumers are buying a product that they think is elite and good, and the value is often correlated with the cost.
It's sometimes just a marketing ploy because a lot of people feel like a higher price tag is better, and that's not necessarily the case.
I call it the back of the minivan syndrome, that parents want to have the right sticker on the back of their car.
I always say, it's very different to graduate with a car loan than with like a mortgage. And so is it really worth it to take on that amount of loan if the education, the actual education that you're getting is at the same level?
really comes down to fit.
The fit for the students.
It always starts for us with a conversation with the student to figure out where they are so that then we can kind of figure out the plan.
It depends on factors that we can't control in a kid's life in terms of affordability, in terms of where they come from.
It is incredibly individualized for every student.
Depends on the student, depends on the family.
Do they want to be the small fish in a big pond or the big fish in a small pond?
Are athletics kind of driving this situation?
Playing football was the main factor in deciding wherever I wanted to go for school.
Swimming was the main driving point with me coming here.
My ultimate goal is to play professional, to go to the NFL.
I want to swim for Colombia for World Championships since I already qualified for World Junior Championships when I was 15 years old in Singapore.
A lot of schools had their eye on me. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Temple, UMass.
I went to Army, I looked at Ohio State, Cincinnati, Georgetown, Will & Mary.
And I just felt like this was the best opportunity for me.
I saw how the coach was so passionate.
Being a student athlete is extremely tough. Just knowing what your priorities are and just knowing sometimes you have to sacrifice.
It's a great school for student athletes and also for non-student athletes because teachers are there to help you out.
The professors here are very understanding and they just want to make a difference. We're conference champions and made our first appearance in the playoffs and first team in Central history to go undefeated in conference play. It's big time.
I've definitely gotten stronger. The coach helped me out. The girls helped me out with that. We all come together as one and we help each other. We're all students, we're all trying to reach a goal.
There are a lot of conversations that I have with students and just trying to figure out where's the best place for you, comfort, fit, what kinds of things the different schools offer, what kind of extracurricular activities.
The majority of their time is spent outside the classroom. So those other things like good study areas or places to hang out, that's just as important as the academics because that's the majority of their time that they're spending on campus. You got to have both. You got to have a balance of we're satisfied with this place academically, but we're also satisfied with all the extra stuff that goes into it too.
Our collection is very wide-ranging that span ancient times to the present. The Andy Warhol Foundation donated 159 of Andy Warhol's Polaroids to us. Renoir, Matisse, the modern masters, Picasso, you name it, and we have examples of it. The Housatonic Museum continues to surprise and astound people. People are incredibly surprised every time they come for two reasons. One, that it's a community college, and two, that it's in Bridgeport. We have an extensive collection of over 6,000 objects that are displayed throughout the campus. We've got art in classrooms, in the library, in the cafeterias, everywhere. It's an immersive experience for our students. We had a professor who established this collection in 1967. There's no acquisitions fund. He asked others to donate and advocated the educational benefit of having these original works of art in an educational environment. By having the work here, students don't have to pay a fee and they essentially live with important works of art. In the gallery, we have changing exhibitions. We bring important art and artists into the community.
It's not somebody else's business that you're working on, it's you. It's your life, and you can be honest about yourself.
Joe Zucker is a significant artist. He's been a practicing artist since the 1960s, and he's been through several different movements, and his work has continued to evolve over the course of 50 years. To bring someone like Joe into our environment and have the students be able to talk with him is really a living history when they're able to speak to someone of his depth and his level of career, he's able to guide them in a way that's meaningful.
The advantage of having this show and all this big work here, artists who really are serious learn from these things.
A lot of times, you may not know that you like art. This is a way for our students to learn how to go to galleries, how to discuss artwork, how to begin a career. This is a place to develop your own interests, your own passions. It opens your mind, and you're able to then have a richer experience as a human being.
I see some of our students too looking at maybe those big ticket schools, big research schools, and they don't realize that probably they're not going to get a real professor until their junior year. They're going to have teaching assistants and grad assistants, whereas if they choose maybe a smaller school, they're getting that professor right off the bat.
Tonight what we have is a demonstration of a new instrument that we're building primarily for astronomy. It is called an interferometer. You detect light at 2 different stations, so it could be more than 2, and you combine that light in such a way that it gives you an extremely high-resolution picture of the object that you're looking at. Our goal is to actually measure the diameters of stars other than the sun. People have measured the diameters of stars before, but never with a portable setup like this. With me tonight are 2 students. One is a grad student, and she's doing a master's thesis project. The other student is an undergraduate student who did an honors thesis with me last year, and she's just about ready to graduate. Tonight we're going to use a setup where the telescopes are close together, but ultimately we would like to put them far apart and just connect them using GPS technology.
Does this need to be connected? No, right? That up here?
If you separate the telescopes further, you get clearer images. So if you double the separation, you get twice as clear an image. As far as I'm aware, there's nowhere else in the country that has that capability. In our new science building, we also have a dedicated room for connecting to observatories across the country. This gives students an ability to understand what it's like to do astronomical observing at a major observatory. We also house the Connecticut Nanotechnology Center, which has a lot of very powerful microscopes that do characterization of high technology materials. We have faculty that are doing world-class research. We're always looking for projects that further science, further our ability to do high technology in the U.S. Well, you know that students who are in our program must do a research project. They are required to work closely with faculty members. So that mentoring, I think, is a very powerful way to pass on how to do science, how to be successful at science.
There are a variety of different roads that you can go on after high school. We have very much shifted our language away from college planning to post-secondary planning, because if every person in our world went to college, we may not have plumbers, we may not have mechanics, we may not have people to fix our HVAC systems in our houses, which would make us very probably angry human beings. It's what you want, and it's something that's going to create outcomes that will help you be successful, however you define success.
There's a school out there for everybody. There's more than one school out there for everybody, regardless of how you do in school, whether you're a 4.0 or whether you're a 2.0. There's a good fit out there for you.
It's all about the fit.
Gateway Community College is the largest of the 12 community colleges in Connecticut. What surprises people is all the offerings that we have. We have 90 degree and certificate programs here at the college. We're constantly evolving. We are always in dialogue with area business. We're always looking for where the jobs are.
One of the things that we do at community colleges is we make sure that we're responsive to the needs
of the community and the needs of the workforce. Those programs boast about a 94-95% employment rate. And that's specifically because we work so closely with our industry partners to develop a program that will meet their needs.
We're very proud of our culinary arts program. We have a demonstration kitchen that doubles as our restaurant.
You're over here. On Thursday nights, we have our full-service restaurant, and the students actually participate in production, and they basically put on the dinner for our guests. We're usually sold out in a couple of days for the whole semester. It gives the students a great experience of hands-on working in a full-service restaurant. They go through every single position that they would in a real restaurant through a semester with us. Age ranges from 18-year-old students coming out of high school all the way to 78-year-old students.
It's lifelong learning. It's really where you are in life and what you need. We're a community college. We're a microcosm of everything that's possible in the community.
We are in the business of preparing students for lifelong learning. What we see in a CNC machine today may not be here 10 years from now. They have to be prepared for that evolution of skill sets. That's why we are a foundation-based entity. If you don't know how to set up and operate a lathe or a milling machine, then how are you really going to understand what this machine is doing? So you have to have that background in order to program it successfully. The classroom is really where it's at from the standpoint of understanding and learning the theory. Industry is saying to us, we expect people to want to evolve and develop, to finish that associate degree, and maybe even that bachelor's degree. This is the model for the state. The governor and the Board of Regents have made clear that they want 6 or 7 other programs in the state community college system to emulate what we are doing here.
What you're seeing is a resurgence of manufacturing in the entire state of Connecticut.
Sikorsky, Pratt & Whitney, Electric Boat have all received federal contracts. Their hiring rates are unseen numbers right now. So we're talking 20,000 people in the next 10 years that will need to be hired as new employees.
In addition to that, you have 4,000 other manufacturing entities in the state of Connecticut.
ECHO, Early College Opportunity, is a statewide initiative where students in high school have an opportunity to earn an associate degree.
You get college experience during high school.
They could actually finish in 4 years, both their associate's degree and their high school diploma, and then they can go on to a 4-year institution or go to jobs with their industry partners. Today we are having a mentor-mentee meet and greet for the New London and Wyndham Early College programs.
We were talking about how to do interviews, what we should do and what we shouldn't do.
The early college opportunity programs are focusing on industries that have specific skill gaps and will have large shortages of people in those industries. There's 40 companies that are in that alliance, and those companies provide mentors, and it's one-on-one mentorship with the students from the beginning of their freshman year until they complete the program. It is not a program that is selective or elite. It's open to all students in these communities.
To get an associate's degree with a no out-of-pocket cost,
it's like the best opportunity you can get.
Who better to help than people in our own community? These are students that are from Connecticut. If we teach them the right skills, you can get a worker for the next 20 to 30 years.
I don't know anyone that would pass it up.
We've got cameras, we've got graphics machines up here.
Today's the first day of class, and I am teaching television production operations in a television studio. The director and technical director are only ever concerned with what's coming up next. The goal is that when students complete the class, they'd be able to go to work at a television station.
And you got to give them what they call nose room.
It's kind of intimidating, I think, at first, but within a class or two, they're completely relaxed, and then they'll end up coming in here doing their own productions outside of class. 50% of our students will transfer to other schools. 50% will go directly to work.
The red one is you're on preview.
Well, we're a feeder school for ESPN. We have a good number of students who go there, they intern, and then they end up staying. Many of the students want to be involved in narrative film.
Want to do film directing, script writing.
And now, Mike and Q.
A good number of our students graduate and move on to news.
I like to write political news for TV.
I love to wind up on CNN.
Other ones will end up going into animation.
My biggest dream is to work with Pixar and Disney and make a Disney princess.
8 countries, 13 states, 3 road trips, and we're just getting started.
I had one student who loves to travel and go to unusual places, and he set up a YouTube channel. He now travels around the world. He's got sponsors that pay for him to go around the world.
1, if you want to make it in the social media world, you're either all in or you're out.
He's like 25 years old.
Number 2, surround yourself with people who are just as ambitious, if not more than you. And lastly, go big.
There are limitless opportunities in media today, and that's more opportunities for particularly those who could really understand that technology.
Take camera 1, and get ready to fade to black.
What we want to help kids understand is no matter where you go, you're going to get out of college what you put into it.
When I look at the state system, I feel like there's a wealth of resources for a lot of our students that I feel like if they didn't have some of those options at the local level, they may not be pursuing post-secondary education right away.
I'm a mom of 4. I married almost 14 years to a wonderful husband, very family-oriented. I'm a warrant officer candidate in the U.S. Army Reserves. I wanted to join the military because I'm very proud of our armed force services. I wanted to be a part of that. Being in the military and being a mom has been challenging. I deployed 2009 to Iraq. So I went from stay-at-home mom to deployed. I was like, I need to find an online school so when I'm deployed, at my down hours, I can further my education. So I looked around and I came across Charter Oak. When I heard of online courses, I thought it was a joke, but it is very popular in the military because we need that flexibility. I took classes when I would get off of work. I would do my work on my downtime, late nights. You have to have some type of motivation, some type of internal push to do an online course. You have to hold your own self accountable. Being a mom, as well as being a soldier, made me an ideal student for online because I know how to multitask. I know how to prioritize. I know what I need to do, where I need to be, and how something needs to get done. I graduated with a Bachelor of Science. The concentration was psychology. So the difference Charter Oak has made in my life is it's helped with my independence. Very proud of that accomplishment.
When I graduated from high school, I had gotten into URI. And 2 weeks before, that's when kind of life just happened. A car accident, head-on collision, and life kind of stopped. The accident was bad. They did find brain damage. I had OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. It's a sick disorder. You have to actually fight your worst fear to get better. The journey was, that was 15 years of torture. I love walking in the woods. It's always been my medicine. It's what got me better. Walking was probably the most pivotal tool that I had in my recovery. Fought the fight of my life, and now I'm alive. Northwestern Community College provided me with a kind of a comfort to say, this is where I'm going to start, but I had no idea where it was going to take me. Fresh Start was really what helped me out the most. The Fresh Start program allows students who have been away from college for a while and had a low GPA to start all over. NCC leveled me in terms of grounding me. It became my life. It offered me everything. I got really involved. I met people, started socializing again. I actually thrived. I loved it. Graduated from Northwestern 6 months ago, transferred to Trinity on a nice scholarship. Northwestern saw in me what I didn't see in myself. They gave me the opportunity to go places that I didn't think were possible for me.
I feel comfortable and confident recommending any of our state schools to our kids, and they are really viable options.
It's just about making sure that the students understand what is available to them here, because they are so lucky that they live in a state that has such a strong public system. Not every state has a system that is this just well organized, that it's this strong, that has the academic options that we have. And so it's just getting them to see that.
I think trying to get kids to maturely stop saying, I want to get out of Connecticut. Most of them get to that point. Sometimes it's a little too late, and many of them then come back when they're in college and say, man, I wish I had paid attention to that conversation.
Our numbers of students applying to state schools have gone up almost every year. More people are starting to realize that the quality of education that you receive at a state school is just as good, if not better, than you might get at a small private liberal arts college.
They'll come in and say, well, my son or daughter is not applying to any public schools. We're only looking at private schools. And usually I ask, okay, well, tell me what you think the difference is, because it's not a term that defines their program. It's not a term that defines their classes. It's really just about where the funding for that school comes from.
What keeps coming to mind for me is the concept of personal growth and choice of what you want to make out of your experience of higher ed, whatever that may mean for you. And the experiences that come along with that are invaluable wherever that higher ed experience happens, whether it be at a trade school, a community college, or a four-year school.
It's really the experiences that you get when you're on that college campus and the internships that you do. That's what's really going to help you when it comes time for employment later on.
I'm a biology major.
My major is painting and drawing.
Biology and a minor in biochemistry.
Environmental earth science and geographic information systems.
Political science and economics.
I love the research aspect. My thesis project is mainly analyzing if the current method of culturing this brain cell is really an accurate representation of what would be in the human body.
I'm doing research on the arsenic and uranium levels throughout eastern Connecticut.
I have applied to the National Conference of Undergraduate Research. I will give a talk on my art.
We found other haplotypes as well.
We're looking at temporal changes in genetic diversity of this endangered bird species.
I was really interested in American politics and elections. Right now I'm working on an honors thesis about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It's a lot of reading, for sure. I look at speeches and documents that our political officials have published or spoken and just read line by line very thoroughly, looking through their rhetorical techniques.
I've had the opportunities to go into the field and help with different nest counts for census data, or also different band reading surveys to see where these individuals moving between sites.
I did have the chance to do a field course for desert ecology last semester, so we traveled to the Mojave and Great Basin deserts.
My medium is oil painting. They really try to get you to test other mediums besides the one that you're focused on, and the digital stuff as well.
We test houses with private well water.
So then that way, if you have your map,
Take the samples to the Department of Public Health. I take the data that they supply us and create a giant database of all the information.
I've been able to publish in a peer-reviewed journal, attend international conferences, and really get involved.
The final piece is going to be something that can hopefully contribute to the literature on rhetoric and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in general.
I'm working on a concept book, and then for my advanced painting class, there's going to be a final critique.
I've presented at on-campus conferences and Tri Beta, which is the National Biological Honor Society.
It's really important to have that undergrad experience to learn how to do research and then be able to apply that if you want to be a graduate student or in the field.
Having the opportunity to participate in research and travel to all these great places has opened my eyes to potential careers. It's given me more confidence and a lifestyle of inquiry.
I want them to feel that they owned the process, and it wasn't mom and dad made them, it wasn't their counselor made them, and it wasn't societal expectation. It was their choice, their decision.
My goal for any of the kids that we work with is that we eventually want them to be successful, productive members of society.
The most important piece of information I can give any family is to keep an open mind, but also to, focus on yourself and what's good for you and your family.
It's all about the fit, and it's all about what is the college that is going to allow you to achieve your ultimate goals, because the next 4 years is really just a stepping stone. After the 4 years of college, you're either going to go into the workforce, you might want to go to grad school, and so what is the place that is going to allow you to reach those goals? It's really about the right fit school for you and your goals and your situation.
Success to me is that they're making the right choice for them.
It should be a fun process. Take the time to enjoy it.